Good afternoon, all of you. So today we will start with the Constitution, and we'll start with preamble first. Okay? Preamble. Okay? So now in preamble they ask many questions. Every year there is one question from preamble. So either some questions on the ideals expressed in preamble, or in preamble the most important concept to be understood is the concept of secularism. So debate on secularism, and in secularism the very important issue is uniform civil code. Okay? So these are the questions that can come from preamble. Okay? So we will first start with some basic concepts of preamble, these information which is relevant for prelims. Okay? So first of all, preamble. So what is a preamble? What purpose preamble serves? Okay? So preamble is like a introduction to the Constitution. Okay? Now Constitution is also a law, or Constitution you can say basic law or fundamental law. So it is not necessary that preambles are attached only to the Constitution. Preambles can be attached to any law. Have you understood this? So sometimes if you see amendments, any law, preamble is mentioned. And what is the purpose of the preamble? Introduction. Okay? Why? Because the language of law is very technical, and it may happen that we will not be able to understand the objective of the law. To make things understandable, something like an abstract or a brief idea or an introduction is given. Okay? So in prelims they can ask you, for example, is preamble attached only to the Constitution? No, not necessarily. Is it necessarily to add preamble? That is also not necessary. So if required, governments do that. Is this clear? So preamble, what is the purpose? Purpose is, it is like introduction to the law. Introduction to the law or statute. Law or statute. ठीक है? Right. Second thing, it is not necessary part of the law. Next, it is not necessary to attach preambles. Next, right, it is not necessary that only constitutions will have preamble. Okay, you have understood. So what is the purpose, right? Purpose you have already written, introduction of the constitution, yeah, introduction of the law. What is going to be written, because law may be drafted in a very technical manner. Okay. Now let us see debates related to Indian preamble, right? Not needed. Preamble is just as an aid. Preamble is just an help so that the reader understands. Preamble or no preamble doesn't make any difference on the status of the law. So it is not an essential part of the law. अगर general theory लेते हैं, it is just an ornamental part of the law. This is clear? Now let us see debates related to preamble in Indian context, or issues related to preamble in Indian context. Okay. So there have been different debates. These things can be asked in prelims. Okay. So what is a debate? So first debate you write whether preamble is a part of the constitution. Okay. Is preamble the part of the constitution? और एक और लिखो, whether preamble is integral part of the constitution. Whether preamble is a part of the constitution. Second, whether preamble is integral part. Both. Which statement is correct? Huh? Second one. First is not correct. So if second is correct, then first automatically correct. Okay. So if preamble is integral part, it is bound to be a part. So the question is preamble an integral part of the constitution? Yes? Yes, preamble is an integral part of the constitution. Because what is constitution, what is integral part or not, everything will depend upon how judiciary interprets the things. Is this clear? So first debate was whether preamble is a part of the constitution or not. In this context, the issue was the first time this issue came in which case? No, Berubari Union case. And in Berubari Union case, Supreme Court said preamble is not a part. Likho right. Berubari Union case, 1960. So this was presidential reference. ठीक है, 1960. The Supreme Court said preamble is not a part of the constitution. Not a part of the constitution. Now अभी केशवन में आ रहे हैं, पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कुछ तो सोचा होगा. What was the logic? तो why preamble is not the part? So when Supreme Court said preamble is not the part, what is the logic? You know the logic. So more than what they say, always understand why. What was the logic? Anybody knows? Pardon? It is not enforceable. If my question is preamble is not a part of the constitution, option A, it is not enforceable. Is it correct? Then what about directive principles? That is also not enforceable. It is not correct. It is not? Why? Right. In Beru Bari case, Supreme Court took the precedent of USA. मतलब यूएस में क्या प्रैक्टिस है, तो डोंट राइट टुक प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूएसए, ठीक है, टुक प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ यूएसए, ठीक है. तो इन यूएसए, राइट, यूएसए इज द फर्स्ट रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, पॉइंट नंबर 1. सेकेंड, यूएसए has preamble, या US Constitution has preamble, ठीक है, right. However, according to the Supreme Court of USA, preamble is not a part of the constitution. You have just adopted the principle that was followed in USA. This was basically the logic. Okay. Now you write Keshwanand Bharti case. (1973). Right, Supreme Court overruled its view and held that preamble is not just a part of the constitution, comma, it is an integral part of the constitution. Underline this integral part. What do you mean by integral part? Likho, right. Integral part means it contains the basic structure of the constitution. It contains the basic structure. Is preamble the basic structure? No. तुम जल्दी में से कभी पॉलिटी के आंसर नहीं देने होते हैं, ठीक है. Preamble is not a part of basic structure, but preamble contains basic structure. Difference realize हो रहा है? अरे ये preamble है, एक पन्ना है. Is this a basic structure? Preamble contains ideals. These ideals are basic structure. इसमें जो है liberty of thought, human dignity, secularism, this is basic structure. So preamble is not basic structure, preamble contains basic structure. ये समझ में आया difference? So preamble is an integral part because it contains basic structure. Now, why change in this view? Why Supreme Court suddenly changed from Berubari case to Keshwanand Bharti case? लिखो why change? अब क्या हो गया? Why changed? No idea. Why changed? तो basically पहले सुनो. तो Supreme Court has acknowledged that it has committed a mistake. पहली बार गलती हो गई. Is that clear? क्या गलती हो गई? Preamble, Supreme Court has ignored a very important fact related to Indian preamble. What was the fact? That Indian preamble was adopted by Constituent Assembly as a part of the Constitution. So it was wrong on their part to go for comparison with American or to take American precedent rather than looking into the facts. So they discovered this fact that preamble was adopted by the Constituent Assembly, and preamble is a last thing to be adopted by the Constituent Assembly. Is this clear? Why? Likho right. Right. They admitted the mistake that in Berubari case comma they ignored a very important historical fact related to preamble. Right, that is preamble was adopted by the Constituent Assembly by the motion that it is a part of the Constitution it means the principles of USA will not apply in case of Indian preamble. Is this clear? Yeah. Now the second question is, or second debate was whether preamble can be amended or not. Okay. तुम लोग को पता था लेकिन जुडिशरी वालों को थोड़ा टाइम लगा जानने में. ठीक है. अब नेक्स्ट लिखो, whether preamble can be amended or not. Look right. Supreme Court in which case? Right. Supreme Court in Keshwanand Bharti case held that preamble can be amended. ठीक है. What was the reason to say so? It is a part of the Constitution. So part of the Constitution can be amended. नहीं, पॉलिटी में ऐसा होता है कि हमको जो लगता है कि वो सही है, वो सही लॉजिक नहीं होता है। ठीक है, हम लोग पॉलिटी को थोड़ा वी टेक पॉलिटी फॉर ग्रांटेड कि ये है तो ऐसा होता है, ऐसा नहीं है, स्पेसिफिक है। पॉलिटी सब्जेक्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बहुत स्पेसिफिक है। ठीक है, तो पहली बात, व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन अरोज, लिखो मिसेस गांधी 1976 एंड केशवानंद भारती के 73। अरे 73 में आया ना केशवानंद भारती केस, और अमेंडमेंट हुआ इमरजेंसी में 76 में। तो पॉलिटी में फिर से वार्न कर रहे, पॉलिटी, इकोनॉमी, ज्योग्राफी, खासकर प्रीलिम्स में बहुत स्पेसिफिक इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए होती है, मेंस में फिर भी तुम घुमा सकते हो। ठीक है, तो पहले तो है कि व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन। अब एक और बताओ, प्रियम्बल विल बी अमेंडेड बाय सिंपल मेजॉरिटी और बाय स्पेशल मेजॉरिटी अंडर 368? Special, not simple. You can change the preamble by simple majority. 368. ठीक है, तो why this question arose? The question was, when Supreme Court said preamble is a part of the Constitution, it was again further inquired whether it can be amended or not. The reason is Article 368 carries the amendment of the Constitution, but in Article 368 it is written amendment of the provision of the Constitution. Is preamble provision of the Constitution? But part of the Constitution. तो preamble is part, provision. Provisions कौन से हैं? जिनको हम articles बोलते हैं। कितने part हैं? 22 parts plus preamble. Okay, 395 articles and 12 schedules. तो Article 368, it is written amendment of the provision. So what about amendment of the part? Can a new part be added? Yes. It can be added. It has ever been added. कहाँ? What? It can never be added. Part तो 22 ही रहेंगे. Total number of articles 395 ही है. A, B, C will grow. तो पार्ट ही है, पार्ट के अंदर अमेंडमेंट्स या प्रोविजंस चेंज होते हैं। ठीक है, तो एनीवे द व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन, राइट, वंस सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक्सेप्टेड preamble as a part, comma, there was lack of clarity whether it can be amended because Article 368 deals with amendment of the provisions of the Constitution. और नेक्स्ट क्लास से टेक पीएम बख्शी's बुक, यही वाली, ठीक है, छोटी वाली, प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। ठीक है, अब लिखो, राइट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट right? Supreme Court clarified that even when it is not a part, sorry, it is not a provision, yet it can be amended. अब कौन सा लॉजिक, इनके पास लॉजिक कहाँ से आते हैं, ठीक है, कुछ भी बुला देते हैं सब, ठीक है. तो नाउ व्हाट वाज द लॉजिक टू एक्सेप्ट प्रियम्बल, बताओ क्या कारण हो सकता है. Why Supreme Court accepted that preamble can be amended? Basic structure should not be changed. इससे कोई लिंक ही नहीं. इवेंट शेड्यूल्स तो प्रोविजन का पार्ट ही होते हैं. प्रोविजन को डिटेल में लिखने की जगह शेड्यूल इज अ पार्ट ऑफ प्रोविजन ओनली. अरे तुम्हारी लॉजिक नहीं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो माना वो पता है तो बताओ. तुम लोग कोई जजेस वजेस तो हो नहीं. You know this. If you don't know, leave it. See now, what was the logic Supreme Court gave? पहले सुनो, ठीक है. If you talk politically, तो like preamble almost was to be amended, but we will not talk politically. So what Supreme Court said, there is a difference in the preamble of India and USA, ठीक है. In USA ऐसे टेक्निकली बोला जाता है, preamble walks before the constitution. ठीक है. तो preamble was prepared first, but our preamble was prepared last. क्यों? Why Indian preamble was prepared in the last? Summary of the Constitution. पहले नहीं लिख सकते थे summary? Summary of the, इसीलिए तो पॉलिटी में बहुत ज़्यादा गलती होती है. Preamble walks before the Constitution. Our preamble walks with the Constitution. बिल्कुल इधर हैंड इन हैंड सब मामला चल रहा है, ठीक है. Our preamble walk hand in hand, ठीक है. So how Supreme Court came to know that preamble was passed in the last. So what was the logic to pass preamble in the last? As he said summary, but the logic was there should not be any contradiction. No contradiction between the preamble and main body. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए मेन बॉडी कहीं और चली गई, प्रियम्बल कहीं और. ऐसा यूएस में हो सकता है. इज दिस क्लियर? तो लॉजिक टू पास द प्रियम्बल इन द लास्ट, that there should not be any contradiction. Up practically why this interpretation was given? Because Indira Gandhi was amending the constitution. अब ऐसा हो सकता है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन is amended in such a way, to such an extent that preamble and constitution start looking contradictory. preamble को देखो तो पता चले इंडिया इज अ सॉवरेन डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को देखो पता चले तो इंडिया इज डिक्टेटरशिप, तो सब गड़बड़ हो जाएगा, ठीक है. सो दैट वाज नॉट अ इंटेंशन. तो preamble and constitution should walk hand in hand. Hence, when the main constitution is amended, the requirement may arise that preamble also has to be amended so that they remain on the same track. Now you have understood? तो अपना जो कोर्ट है बड़ा प्रैक्टिकल है, तो जैसी जरूरत होती है वैसा इंटरप्रिटेशन कर देते हैं. इज दिस क्लियर? सो व्हाट वाज नीडेड टू इंश्योर दैट preamble and constitution do not walk on the separate tracks, understanding the mandate of the constituent assembly. अभी समझ में आया? तो लिखो why. Right? Judiciary applied the creative interpretation and held that unlike USA, preamble in India walk with the constitution. अंडरलाइन करो वॉक विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ये तो समझ में आता है, वॉक विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. राइट? देयर वॉज अ रीजन टू पास द preamble in the last. Right, so that harmony is maintained between the preamble and the main body. Right? It may happen that preamble starts looking inconsistent in light of the amendments in the main body. अभी लॉजिक समझ में आ गया? Now next question is how important preamble is. How important preamble is in the interpretation of the Constitution. Or whether Constitution should be studied sorry, should be interpreted, not studied, should be interpreted in the light of preamble. एक और लिखो, is preamble a source of power? To any institution where, comma, it is not given explicitly. Next, is preamble a source to take the power? Of any body, to take the power of any body? Is preamble a source to take the power of any body which is explicitly given? ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट preamble is in the interpretation of the constitution, or constitution has to be interpreted in the light of the preamble. So यहाँ पर you write first case, A.K. Gopalan case. Who was A.K. Gopalan? Communist leader, ठीक है, and a political opponent to Nehru. And Pandit Nehru at the time of independence or before that promised that there will be no black law in the country, and he was the founder of the civil rights organization. But he is the same person who brought the first preventive detention law. And in India, preventive detention laws have been used primarily against political opponents. Okay? So when this preventive detention law was brought, then in this case, A.K. Gopalan or petitioner, they have challenged the validity of the law itself. ठीक है? Preventive detention law, और इसकी validity challenge की थी because he was put behind the bars under this law. And what was said that this law is not according to the constitution, and this was the case where A.K. Gopalan said that in Article 21, along with the procedure established by law, we should accept that there is a due process of law. ये मैंने explain किया था, और उस हिसाब से we can question the law, legislature also, not just executive. But that time Supreme Court did not accept this, and Supreme Court said that preamble is not very important, or it is not necessary that the provisions of the constitution are interpreted in the light of the preamble. Have you understood this? Write it down. Right. Petitioner A.K. Gopalan the famous communist leader, appealed to examine the validity of the preventive detention law brought by the government of Pandit Nehru, comma, right, the law to be interpreted in the light of the concept of liberty given in the preamble. Liberty, yeah, India is a democratic state, liberty or concept of liberty given in the preamble, right. Supreme Court did not accept preamble as a, right inverted commas, guiding star. Guiding star in the interpretation of the Constitution. Now you write ये 1950 केस. Next, बेरूबारी यूनियन केस. ठीक है. Right. तो preamble is accepted as a key to open the mind of the Constituent Assembly. Or like a lighthouse. Okay. Now, key to open the mind, इसका मतलब क्या है? Lighthouse मतलब क्या? क्या? Help in interpretation. लिखो right. Key to open means will be used only where there is a ambiguity. Ambiguity. Or when there is contradiction between two provisions. So to know the intentions, to unlock the key, एक आर्टिकल हो सकता है, उसका डिफरेंट इंटरप्रिटेशन हो सकता है. तो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द इंटरप्रिटेशन? अब जैसे ये हो सकता है अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ द जजेस इन कंसल्टेशन विथ जुडिशरी. अब इस पर डिबेट हो सकता है कि कंसल्टेशन का मतलब कॉन्करेंस है या कंसल्टेशन। तो जुडिशरी किस लाइट में इंटरप्रेट करेगी? प्रियम्बल, क्योंकि ये चीज़ क्लियर नहीं है। अब प्रियम्बल में क्या है? बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर। बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर सेज जुडिशियल इंडिपेंडेंस is a basic structure. So obviously then what they say that consultation basically means concurrence because it is necessary to maintain the independence of judiciary. Have you understood this? That is why constitution is what judges say. So judges will open the key. This is a key to open to know the intention. Where provisions are explicit, preamble is not used. Where there is a confusion, a particular term is capable of more than one meaning. Where there is a contradiction, suppose contradiction comes between fundamental rights and directive principles, then to resolve this dilemma you can interpret in the light of preamble. तो ये dilemma हो सकता है, जैसे पहले fundamental right to property, इधर state का objective to help the weaker section or to implement the land reforms. तो preamble के light में interpret करेंगे। तो preamble का light क्या कहता है? Justice, social, economic and political. तो ऐसी जगह पर they will be using the preamble. ठीक है? But preamble in itself is not a source of power. जैसे government कह दे it is a duty to implement the fundamental duty to implement the directive principles. But इसके basis पर government cannot claim that it can take away all the fundamental rights. So you cannot claim any right on the basis of preamble, nor government has any right, it will have to, and it is nothing like this. Is this clear? To write next. Right. Similarly, preamble in itself preamble in itself can neither be a source of power comma which is not explicitly given comma nor a basis to take away the power not a basis to take away the power which is explicitly given. Now last you write Keshwanand Bharti case. Preamble के मेंस के क्वेश्चन हो तो भेज दो जो मेंस में है वो भेज दो बस. केशवानंद भारती केस, राइट. सुप्रीम कोर्ट हेल्ड दैट preamble is the integral part comma contains the basic structure comma contains the noble vision for which the Constitution is created and hence it is to be implement, right, it is to be, a constitution has to be interpreted. Constitution has to be interpreted in the light of preamble. So constitution is, a preamble is very, very important to understand the whatever institution system constitution has created. But still preamble is not a source. This you have understood? So these are some questions now only relevant for prelims. ठीक है? अब preamble, what is given in the preamble? What is the content of the preamble? तो first of all लिखो contents of the preamble. तो in the contents of the preamble क्या क्या दिया हुआ है? First of all, the nature of Indian state. Next, the ideals. ठीक है? Next, date of adoption and enactment. ठीक है? तो what does enactment means? When it becomes a law. ठीक है? तो adoption means what is the date on which Constituent Assembly adopted. What is that date? 26th January. और enactment का मतलब क्या? Passed by लिखो. Enactment means the day bill receive the assent of the president. Day the bill received assent of the president. Does the preamble tells about commencement of the constitution? लिखो. Does preamble tells about the commencement of the constitution? ठीक है? अच्छा. और हम लोगों ने प्रीलिम्स के लिए जो क्वेश्चन बनाए थे ना, फर्स्ट 2 वाले, वो भी निकाल के रखना अभी. प्रियम्बल और जनरल वाले जो इन लोग को प्रैक्टिस के लिए देंगे बस. ठीक है? तो कमेंसमेंट क्या होता है? द डेट ऑफ इन्फोर्समेंट. इट इज गिवन इन द प्रियम्बल. यस? अभी इधर से सब लोग बोल रहे थे यस यस. नहीं दिया हुआ है. इट इज नॉट गिवन. इज दिस क्लियर? डेट ऑफ कमेंसमेंट नहीं दिया है. एडॉप्शन बाय द असेंबली एंड इनैक्टमेंट दिया हुआ है. वेयर when the constitution was commenced? 26 January 1950. Where it is written? Yes. Date of commencement of the constitution means enforcement. It is given in Article 394. 394 of the Constitution. ठीक है? तो घर जाके एक बार 394, अब इतना तो डिटेल में आता नहीं है, लेकिन 394 में क्या दिया हुआ है? Which articles will come to force with immediate effect and which will come force on 26th January 1950. ठीक है, तो कौन से आर्टिकल आया अब उतने की कोई खास जरूरत नहीं है. इज दिस क्लियर? नाउ वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड the important concepts which are given in the preamble or the terms which are given in the preamble. So first is nature of Indian state. लिखो राइट, इसमें एक क्वेश्चन ही लिखो, मेंस में आया था. राइट दिस क्वेश्चन, डिस्कस ईच एडजेक्टिव attached to the word republic in the preamble full stop. Are they defendable in the present circumstances? Defendable in the present circumstances. ठीक है, तो discuss each. What adjectives are given? Sovereign, democratic republic. लिखो sovereign, that India is a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. So you have to first explain the meaning of each adjective. तो first is sovereign. तो कैसे लिखोगे आंसर? The meaning of each adjective can be explained as first है sovereign. Sovereign तो you must be knowing now. Sovereign means what? Independent or not under the control. We are no more a dominion. ठीक है, we are very much an independent country. तो sovereignty means India is no more the colony of British. It is a independent country and the member of the international community. Neither in external nor in internal terms India is under any other authority. यही मतलब है sovereignty. All of you understand? तो क्या लिखेंगे sovereignty? Right, it denotes that India is no more a colony. Right, it is independent nation with right to, कौन सा right हो सकता है? कंप्लीट करो अपने से. Right to self determination. We will determine our policies ourselves. Right to self determination. ठीक है, तो right both in external and internal sphere India has freedom to make policies. Policies, whatever India thinks, means freedom to make policies is sovereignty. ठीक है, तो India is independent. It is not under the control of any other country. So now the question is, are they defendable in the present circumstances? Can you call India a sovereign country in the present circumstances? Yes? Okay. तो the question is, पहली बात तो तुमने yes कह दिया. किस बेसिस पे कहा? सबसे पहले तो ये भी सोचना चाहिए ये क्वेश्चन क्यों पूछा गया है. आंसर में ये भी तो बताओ, why this question is asked. India is sovereign or not? What is the reason to ask this question? What is the reason? Huh? UNO. The reason is we are living in a globalized world. ठीक है? और globalization क्या है? Globalization borderless world है. States borders हैं. तो globalization will dilute the sovereignty of the state. तो अब इंडिया की sovereignty is diluted by the globalization. Yes? No. तो yes वाले लोग रीजन बताओ और नो वाले. नो वालों को कैसा लग रहा है कि नहीं? There is no dilution in the sovereignty. We are maintaining our freedom of action. Yes? No, कभी no, yes. हाँ बोलो.
Because we cannot buy S-400 missile system from Russia now.
Why?
Because of
USA. Because of USA we are not purchasing. Or maybe the money or the cost or the quality.
we are independent to any multilateral, suppose take for instance United Nations, that comes in a package. Now the very fact that India wants to become a part of the globalized world is also the discretion of India only.
Discretion of India. Yes. तो अब पहली बात तो why the question of relevance. ठीक है? तो अब नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में क्या लिखोगे? राइट, द इंडिया एज अ सॉवरेन कंट्री exercising the freedom of choice has been brought into question because of globalization. Full stop. Right, globalization means more interconnected world. Globalization is a interconnected world. Right, it weakens the sovereignty of the state in general, yeah, in theory. In theory कह सकते हो. Now, but is it true with India? No, it is not true, because now we are more capable of exercising the sovereignty. तो sovereignty तो affect होती है, लेकिन सबकी equally affect थोड़ी हो गई है. तो sovereignty क्या है? Power. After globalization हमारी power बढ़ी है, हमारी power घटी नहीं है. Now earlier we were just an ideological power. Now we are also an economic power. Have you understood? तो इंडिया के लिए जो आंसर होगा वो किसी और कंट्री के लिए हो जरूरी नहीं है. ठीक है? तो यू कैन राइट दैट. हाउएवर इन केस ऑफ इंडिया it cannot be said that it has weakened the sovereignty. Why? It has increased our power, right? Ability to exercise freedom. Depends on power. And there is a phenomenal increase in the power of India. Right? India is today recognized as emerging power. Comma, an economic power, a nuclear power, a nuclear armed state, comma, strongest contender for the permanent seat in UN Security Council, जो खुद ही सिंबल है being great power का, strongest contender. ठीक है, अब बिल्कुल तो झूठ नहीं बोल सकते, ठीक है, थोड़ा बहुत एडमिट भी करो कि भाई कुछ चेंज है, ठीक है, तो राइट. हाउएवर it is not correct to say that there has been no dilution at all. ठीक है, तो right, in fact globalization expects nations to exercise their sovereignty in a more responsible manner, comma, acting in, ये वर्ड यूज करो, acting in concert with each others, in concert, मिलजुल के काम करना. You cannot have your own way, you have to act in concert with each other. तो अब इतना स्पेस भी नहीं है, वरना अगर केवल यही क्वेश्चन है तो you can write that India is at the main or forefront of all major negotiations, major platform. India is among the law maker and we are accepting only those obligations which we are also participating in framing. तो अब इस आंसर में इतना स्कोप नहीं है. You have understood sovereign. Now sovereign socialist. So India as a socialist country, what do you mean by India as a socialist country? What is the defining feature of Indian socialism? Welfare state. Welfare state तो liberalism का feature होता है. Pardon? Mixed economy. नहीं. पहले सुनो. Socialism का objective क्या है? Equality. Equality. Socialism किसके लिए? गरीब लोगों के लिए. Is that clear? तो गरीब लोगों को इक्वालिटी चाहिए. अब किस चीज की इक्वालिटी दोगे? इक्वल पैसा दोगे? इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी, बेसिक नीड्स के फुलफिलमेंट नहीं। अब तुम लोग रुकोगे तो हम भी बताते हैं, ठीक है। मेकिंग पीपल इक्वल इज अ ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ सोशलिज्म। अब इंडिया के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में विच इक्वालिटी? Equality of opportunity will not result into equality. Which equality? Oh, equality in terms of human dignity, equal respect for all. We cannot give equal pay for all. We cannot give equal house to all. क्या चीज दे सकते हैं? Equal रेस्पेक्ट। तो अपना जो सोशलिज्म है वो कौन सा है? बड़ा सुपरफिशियल सोशलिज्म है। ओरिजिनल में तो था भी नहीं, डाल दिया गया है सोशलिज्म। किसके लिए? पुअर्स। तो सोशलिज्म क्या है? इक्वालिटी। अब यू हैव टू मेक पीपल इक्वल इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिग्निटी। तो अपना सोशलिज्म कौन सा सोशलिज्म है? मेक पीपल इक्वल इन डिग्निटी, सबको इक्वल रेस्पेक्ट देनी है। और यूएसएसआर में क्या देना था? इक्वल पे देनी थी, ठीक है। तो उनका सही था या अपना सही है? अपना नहीं सही है, अपना तो बेवकूफ बनाने का काम है, ठीक है। तो सोशलिज्म लिखो, राइट राइट। सोशलिज्म was added in 1976. However, as a country with large number of poors, there has been inclination towards socialism, full stop, right? Indian socialism is a type of Fabian socialism. Fabian socialism, that is state-led socialism. Fabian socialism, state-led socialism. Full stop. The social and economic rights given in part 4 of the Constitution right represent Indian socialism. Right, socialism aims at equality, comma, Constitution aims to provide or aims to make people equal in terms of dignity. Dignity, right, right. However, according to Supreme Court in Samtha versus State of Andhra Pradesh, in Samtha, SAMTHA, Samtha versus State of Andhra Pradesh, year लिखो 1997, socialism in India means reducing inequalities in income and status, comma providing equality of opportunity, ये भी है प्रीलिम्स में अगर आता है तो दिस इज ऑल्सो इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड अ लाइफ ऑफ डिग्निटी, प्रोवाइडिंग इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी and life of dignity. Now why there is a question mark on India as a socialist country and defendable? ये क्वेश्चन क्यों पूछा? Are they defendable? No. क्यों? प्राइवेटाइजेशन. तो क्वेश्चन में ये भी लिखा करो क्वेश्चन क्यों है, why there is a question. ठीक है, तो राइट नेक्स्ट, इंडिया एज अ सोशलिस्ट कंट्री has been put to a question mark since India had adopted which model of development? Neoliberal model of development based on Washington consensus. Based on Washington consensus. You know Washington consensus? नहीं तो आज जाके ढूंढो क्या होता है Washington consensus. Washington consensus का मतलब होता है या एक कॉन्फ्रेंस में डिसाइड किया कौन सी पॉलिसीज चलाएंगे. तो जो नियो लिबरल पॉलिसीज है, रोलिंग बैक ऑफ द स्टेट, मार्केट फंडामेंटलिज्म, जिसके ऊपर WTO बेस्ड है, उसको क्या कहते हैं? वॉशिंगटन कंसेंसस. ठीक है, तो बेस्ड ऑन वॉशिंगटन कंसेंसस. अब जो मॉडल हमने फॉलो किया, उस मॉडल के बाद सोशलिस्टिक गोल का क्या हुआ? नियो लिबरल अगर हमारा डेवलपमेंटल मॉडल है, कैन वी डिफेंड द सोशलिस्टिक गोल? कैसे? नंबर ऑफ पुअर्स डिक्रीज्ड. गोल तो हमारा है रिड्यूसिंग द इनइक्वालिटी. और नियो लिबरल मॉडल के बाद सोसाइटी में इनइक्वालिटी हैज ग्रोन और रिड्यूस्ड. और एज पर ऑक्सफैम रिपोर्ट 1% of Indians are holding the 70% of the wealth. So this model, is it socialistic model? नहीं है ना, तो आप कैसे लिखोगे?
जो पहले पुअर थे वो सभी पुअर थे, इसलिए इनइक्वालिटी लगती नहीं. अभी एटलीस्ट उनमें से कुछ लोगों का अपलिफ्टमेंट हुआ है.
नहीं भाई, पॉवर्टी क्या है? How do you define poverty? Poverty is a deprivation. और सबसे जो वर्स्ट फॉर्म डेप्रीवेशन है वो तो हंगर है. तो हंगर हैज इंक्रीज्ड और डिक्रीज्ड. पॉवर्टी में हैव रिड्यूस्ड इन एब्सोल्यूट टर्म्स. गवर्नमेंट के जो फिगर्स हैं पॉवर्टी लाइन के, बट what about the real poverty? Inequality, it has grown na. You cannot talk no we have become better. Is this clear? So since 1990s the problem of left wing extremism has also grown. तो ऐसे फेक तो डिफेंड नहीं कर सकते सोशलिज्म को. ठीक है, लिखो क्या लिखा है लास्ट? कंसेंसस. ठीक है, राइट. Since 1990s, there has been increase in interstate and intrastate disparities. Right? As per Oxfam report 2017, Oxfam report, is it 17 or 18? Oxfam report, right? 1% of Indians hold 70% of the wealth. %70 of the wealth, full stop. Right? Right? If we understand poverty in terms of deprivations, comma, there has been growth in hunger and malnutrition. Right? Though the number of people living below poverty line have declined in absolute terms. Yet, the relative poverty has increased. Right? Since 1990s, left-wing extremism has become the biggest internal security threat. अब है क्वेश्चन, आर दे डिफेंडेबल? कैसे? देखो, ऐसे कोई जरूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह तुम पॉजिटिव लिखते ही चले जाओ. Admit the mistake and go for course correction is also a good attitude. क्या लिखोगे? Defendable or not? हाँ? ठीक है. तो you can write this. Right? Though above situation is a matter of concern, yet we cannot say that government has completely ignored the ideals of socialism. Ideals of socialism, right? Right. We have accepted the concept of inclusive growth in 11th and 12th 5-year plans. Comma, to address the unemployment the unemployment, poverty, schemes like, programs like Manrega, right to food, right to education, has been introduced. Right. The government is also trying to achieve financial inclusion, so that majority of the people can be brought within the social security net with minimum leakages. Minimum leakages. With minimum leakages, direct cash transfer कर सकते हो, financial inclusion. तो फिर यही लिख सकते हो, for a country like India with largest number of poors in the world, with largest, second largest थोड़ी, first कौन है? Population में? First. चलो, with one, I don't think. Whose report? World Bank report. Brookings. नाइजीरिया की पॉपुलेशन कितनी है? Anyway, चलो, one of the largest करके खत्म करो. One of the largest population in the world. Socialism will always remain relevant. Secular. Is India a secular state? Why this question? Government interferes in the religion. No? Communal violence. ठीक है, लिखो right. अरे तो ठीक है, we are moving ना, we are working for the inclusion, inclusive growth. अगर नहीं हुई है तो कर तो रहे हैं, recognize किया है. अब next is secular. What does secular means? India as a secular state. लिखो right. India as a secular state implies freedom of religion available to the people belonging to different religion, which includes freedom to practice, profess, and propagate religion. Freedom to practice, profess, and propagate religion. अब लिखो सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन सेंट जेवियर्स कॉलेज, सेंट जेवियर्स कॉलेज वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात 1974 explained following features of Indian secularism. First, a state has no religion. No religion. Next, a state is neither anti-God nor pro-God. Next, God is eliminated. और हमेशा सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ही डेफिनेशंस देने हैं, ठीक है. God is eliminated from the matters of state. Next, whether a person is devotee, agnostic or atheist, devoted to somebody, comma, a state consider all of them as equal. ठीक है, all are equal. Now why question mark लिखो, right? Why, right? Why there is a question mark, right? Since 1990s there is a growth in communal violence around the world, and India is not an exception. तो religion and politics, because ideology lost the importance. तो इस word सुना होगा तुम लोगों ने, clash of civilizations. तो 1990s के बाद around the world religion and politics या communal politics is growing. ठीक है, तो इंडिया में भी it is a part of that system. ठीक है, तो there has been increase in communal violence. There has been increase in communal violence in the country. At times there have been allegations against the authorities, especially law enforcement agencies. Law enforcement agencies, police, etc., that they have not followed the constitutional obligation under article, which article? A state will not discriminate on the basis of religion, race, caste. Article 15. Article 15. which says that a state shall not discriminate among the citizens. ठीक है, ये समझ में आता है आर्टिकल 15? अब इसको क्या कहोगे? इंडिया एज अ सेक्युलर स्टेट, इज इट डिफेंडेबल? हैज टू, तो हैज टू, आर्टिकल 15 क्लॉज 1 लिख लो एग्जैक्टली, आर्टिकल 15 क्लॉज 1 क्या कहता है? द स्टेट शैल नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेट अगेंस्ट एनी सिटीजन ऑन द ग्राउंड ओनली ऑफ रिलीजन, रेस, कास्ट, सेक्स, प्लेस ऑफ बर्थ. तो अब ये तो फैक्ट है, क्या लिखोगे? इज इट डिफेंडेबल? हैज टू बी डिफेंडेबल तो नहीं कर सकते. नहीं, secularism should not be seen as a compulsion. Secularism should be seen as a feature of a civilized society. The more civilized and rational you become, you have to be secular. तो उसके लिए compulsion is not a good word. You admit that there has been, you admit that secularism is no more defensible in India. It is defensible. कैसे लिखोगे?
These sporadic cases of violence, normally the basic elements of secularism are protected. Going to the constitutional scheme, even we can quote Supreme Court in SR Bombay. So secularism is part of it.
SR बोम्बई के बाद से ही तो ज़्यादा बड़ा है, वो तो 94 का है. उसके बाद से तो communal violence, incidents, lynching, these things have increased. Is it defendable anymore? Yes or no? तो बताओ ना, आर्गुमेंट भी तो देने पड़ेंगे. India as a secular state, it is defendable. अरे आज सेक्युलर है कि नहीं है? तो वही तो बताओ ना, इंसिडेंट भी तो दो. जिन्होंने कहा नहीं सेक्युलर है, उन्होंने तो बता दिया. सेक्युलरिज्म is in eclipse, communal violence is on rise, and there have been allegations against the discriminatory attitude among the law enforcement agencies. तो अब क्या कह सकते हो? Is it defendable? Are we secular? तो देखो, right? It is true that there has been decline in, there has been the rise of communal violence in the country. Right? Hence, the government, you can write, hence the previous government tried to bring, write inverted commas, the communal violence bill to assure the minorities right, though bill had many flaws. Yet it was an acknowledgement of the discrimination comma, right, bill provided strong penalties for the officials found responsible for dereliction of duties. Dereliction, for मतलब no neglect, dereliction of duties, official duties, ignore. Right? It is also true that Muslims, the largest minority in the country, continues to be the most backward as suggested by such a committee. Such a committee report. Such a committee report. Such a committee report. ठीक है? Right. देखो right. The diverse country like India need to strengthen its its secular credentials. Secular credentials. ठीक है? तो we need to strengthen it. Right? Right? The government has started various schemes for the upliftment of minorities. Any scheme that you know? नई रोशनी, ये हाँ उस्ताद, ठीक है, नई रोशनी, upliftment of minorities. So government is taking steps. लिखो right, there is need to strengthen the powers of the watchdog bodies like National Commission of Minorities, National Commission of Minorities, or National Commission of Human Rights, National Human Rights Commission. तो जहाँ नहीं हो पाया वहाँ एडमिट करना है ना, सब बड़ाई तोड़ी करने हैं हमारे जितना, कोई सेक्युलर नहीं, ठीक है. नहीं, इससे ज़्यादा स्कोप नहीं. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अपने बहुत सारे जजमेंट्स काफ़ी कंट्रोवर्शियल हैं. अब सोवरेन, सोशलिस्ट, सेक्युलर, डेमोक्रेटिक, लिखो डेमोक्रेटिक. किसके बारे में? यहाँ कहाँ लिखोगे, क्या लिखोगे? देयर इज नो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड. अरे इतना बहुत है. नेक्स्ट, डेमोक्रेटिक. इज इंडिया डेमोक्रेसी? There is, why there is a, huh? The question, yes, why this question? Freedom? ठीक है, देखो right, democracy. Right, right, constitutionally, India is representative democracy. With the free and fair elections, under an autonomous election commission right. India has also tried to introduce direct democracy at the level of Gram Sabha. Right? Though India is the best example of democratic governance in the third world, however, right, in comparison to the Western countries, India is procedural democracy. Rather than substantive. Procedural rather than substantive. Substantive क्या होता है? जहाँ पर empowerment हो. प्रोसीजर तो है लेकिन सब्सटेंस नहीं है. तो इंडिया क्या है? फॉर्मल डेमोक्रेसी. सब्सटेंटिव डेमोक्रेसी समझ में आता है? वेयर पीपुल फील एम्पावर्ड. ऐसा नहीं है. तो इंडिया क्या है? प्रोसीजरल डेमोक्रेसी बोला जाता है. थर्ड वर्ड में तो फर्स्ट पोजीशन है, बट वर्ड में अगर देखेंगे तो इंडिया इज व्हाट? प्रोसीजरल डेमोक्रेसी. ठीक है, राइट. इवन इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोसीजरल डेमोक्रेसी, even in context of procedural democracy, there are problems like criminalization of politics, use of money and muscle powers. Money and muscle power. Right? There is an urgent need for electoral reforms. Electoral reforms to address the criminalization. Though so far Supreme Court, working in association with Election Commission and civil society, have tried to limit the factors of money and muscle powers. For example, in Lily Thomas case, Supreme Court has struck down Section 8, subsection 3 of the Representation of People Act, Section 8, subsection 3 of the Representation of People Act 1951, जिसमें लालू प्रसाद यादव को फिर जेल हुआ. Is that clear? पहले क्या था? As per this, if any person or a member of parliament is found guilty of the criminal action, but if he is a member of parliament, he was not disqualified with immediate effect till the final disposal of the appeal. So that has been declared null and void. फिर लिख सकते हो, right, government has introduced right to information, citizens charters, social auditing, right, to introduce, right, inverted commas, citizen centric governance. Citizen centric governance. After all, democracy is what? Citizen centric governance. So, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. ठीक है. Now, what else is there in the preamble? So, जैसे लिखो, right, discuss the idea of justice. Discuss the idea of justice found in the preamble. Discuss the idea of justice found in the preamble. क्या आइडिया है जस्टिस का? जस्टिस सोशल, इकोनॉमिक एंड पॉलिटिकल. कैसे इसको डिस्क्राइब करेंगे? डिस्कस द आइडिया ऑफ जस्टिस गिवन इन द प्रीएम्बल. कभी भी जस्टिस पे कोई भी क्वेश्चन आए किसी भी पेपर में, एथिक्स में, पॉलिटी में, एसे में, कहीं भी, ठीक है, उसको यू कैन ऑलवेज स्टार्ट विद द कोर्ट्स ऑफ रॉल्स. ठीक है, रॉल्स का कोर्ट से हमेशा स्टार्ट करो, या कोई सोशल इशू पर ऐसे भी आता है, ठीक है, कहीं भी ये वाला कोर्ट सेट हो जाता है. जस्टिस इज द फर्स्ट वर्च्यू ऑफ the social system. Justice is the first virtue of the social system. Virtue of the social system. पूरा स्टेटमेंट तो बाद में कभी एथिक्स में पढ़ेंगे कि जस्टिस इज द फर्स्ट वर्च्यू ऑफ द सोशल सिस्टम as truth is a virtue of the system of thought. तो किसी भी सोशल सिस्टम का बेस होता है कंसेप्ट ऑफ जस्टिस. इज दिस क्लियर? तो फॉर एनी स्टेट जस्टिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड इफ पीपल फील जस्टिस इज नॉट डन, देयर कैन बी अ रेवोल्यूशन. एंड इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टेक्स विच आइडिया ऑफ जस्टिस? A very comprehensive idea of justice, social, economic and political. ठीक है, तो इसमें क्या पॉइंट्स लिख सकते हो? पॉइंट नंबर 1, no state can exist if people perceive that it is unjust. right? Preamble explains the idea of justice found in the Constitution. Next, it is a comprehensive idea of justice. That is justice, social, economic, and political. Now define social justice. लिखो पहले social justice. What is the meaning of social justice? अम्बेडकर का तो आइडियली लिखें क्या? जस्टिस सोशल. सोशल जस्टिस के अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कोई प्रोविजंस हैं? एबॉलिशन ऑफ कास्ट सिस्टम, रिजर्वेशन, एफर्मेटिव एक्शन, ठीक है, एबॉलिशन ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी, नॉट कास्ट सिस्टम, जेंडर इक्वालिटी, ठीक है. तो यू कैन डिस्कस द आइडिया ऑफ सोशल justice. So social justice, you have to first understand what type of injustices in India. So there have been injustices in terms of gender, in terms of caste, in terms of basically these two, not religion and all historically. ठीक है. So Constitution aims to achieve social justice. Is this clear? Social justice. तो आर्टिकल्स ही सीधे लिख दो, ठीक है. राइट राइट. इन इंडिया injustice या social injustice has been या had been present in terms of the discrimination based on caste, gender, full stop, right? Caste and gender. Constitution of India right prohibits discriminations based on caste, color, race, sex, etc. Right? It not only prohibits discriminations, it also provides for affirmative action in favor of the weaker sections, in favor of weaker sections. ठीक है, तो हो गया सोशल जस्टिस. इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस लिखो. इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस right, the directive principles of state policy, especially Article 39 B and C. 39 B and C aim to 39B and C डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स में aim to reduce the inequalities of income and wealth. And to achieve the aim of income and wealth, and to achieve the aim of equitable distribution of resources. Aim of equitable distribution of resources. ठीक है? It contains many other social and economic rights. Like right to adequate wages, right to adequate wages, वो भी इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस है कि नहीं? right to work, ठीक है? right to adequate wages, right to work, उसमें नहीं, फिर एजुकेशन केयर वेयर, राइट प्रमोशन ऑफ एजुकेशनल एंड इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट of the members of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, educational and economic interests of the members of scheduled castes, scheduled tribe, comma, raise the level of nutrition and standard of living, including public health. Public health, ये सब डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स में इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस. नाउ पॉलिटिकल जस्टिस. पॉलिटिकल जस्टिस कहाँ का है? हाँ, राइट, यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज, फ्री एंड फेयर, सॉरी वो छोड़ो, यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट फ्रेंचाइज. नेक्स्ट, इंडिपेंडेंट इलेक्शन कमीशन, reservations for the weaker sections, like members of SC/ST community, in parliament and assemblies, right, reservation for women along with the members of SC/ST community, in all the 3 levels of panchayats, ठीक है? तो दिस इज ऑल पॉलिटिकल जस्टिस. तो जस्टिस सोशल, इकोनॉमिक एंड पॉलिटिकल. अब लिखो राइट, यहाँ पे ऐसे कॉन्क्लूजन लिखो. तो इज जस्टिस अ डिविजिबल आइडिया? सोशल, इकोनॉमिक, पॉलिटिकल क्या अलग अलग है? ठीक है, इट इज बेसिकली अ इनडिविजिबल, इट इज एन इंटीग्रेटेड होल. ठीक है, तो राइट, दो मेंशन्ड सेपरेटली. रिपब्लिक तो मीन्स इंडिया इज अ स्टेट वेयर हेड ऑफ कंट्री, वही है बस. कहाँ पे पहुंचे? सेपरेटली yet, though mentioned separately, yet justice, social, economic and political form an integrated idea. ठीक है, तो one cannot be achieved without the other. This is an idea. Now justice, अब इसकी कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. लिबर्टी ऑफ थॉट, एक्सप्रेशन, बिलीफ, इक्वालिटी ऑफ स्टेटस, फ्रेटर्निटी, डिग्निटी, इन जस्टिस पे कोई क्वेश्चन बन सकता था. अब एक मेजर क्वेश्चन बनता है ऑन इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म. ऑन इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म लिखो, राइट. अब सेक्युलरिज्म पर तुम्हारा ऐसे भी आ सकता है. सेक्युलरिज्म, ठीक है, इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म. एंड सेकंड क्वेश्चन, द डिबेट ऑन यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड. तो व्हाट इज आइडिया ऑफ इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म, ठीक है. अब इसमें क्वेश्चन लिखो ऑन इंडियन सेक्युलरिज्म, या इन द फॉर्म ऑफ, लेट्स सी दिस क्वेश्चन. Write this question. Our constitution does not acquire its secular character merely from the words in the preamble, comma, but from the collective reading of many of its provisions. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन लिखो, डिस्कस द वैल्यूज which are integral to Indian secularism. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन लिखो, सेक्युलरिज्म comma by any morally reasonable analysis. By केवल by BUY वाली नहीं. By any secularism, by any morally reasonable analysis is inbuilt in the foundations of the Constitution and in the idea of democracy, in the foundation of the Constitution and in the idea of democracy properly understood. एक और लिखो, डाइवर्स एंड प्लूरल सोसाइटी लाइक इंडिया कैन नॉट थ्राइव विदाउट cannot thrive, THRIVE, thrive without a sui generis, SUIGE NERIS, sui generis model of secularism, given by the Constituent Assembly. तो अब क्वेश्चंस ऐसे फ्रेम करते हैं कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लैंग्वेज में. पर्पस क्या होता है? टू सी योर कॉम्प्रिहेंशन स्किल. ठीक है, लेकिन नॉर्मली सबका आंसर एक ही होता है. इज दैट क्लियर? सो जैसे सेक्युलरिज्म ऑफ इंडिया, इज इट जस्ट मेंशन्ड इन द प्रियम्बल or is it present throughout the constitution? Throughout the constitution. And if government had not introduced the term preamble, it would have made any difference? No. And suppose if we delete the word preamble, it will make difference. Can we delete the word preamble from the can we delete the word secularism from the preamble? No? We can delete? No, or should we delete? Superfluous word है ये. Delete करने से if we restore the original constitution, constitution will not remain secular. It will remain secular. तो हटा सकते हैं वो word. Still we should not remove. Why? क्या? बेसिक तो चाहे प्रियम्बल में नहीं है तो भी तो सेक्युलर है. फंडामेंटल राइट फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन है तो सेक्युलर है. जब ये प्रोविजन नहीं मेंशन था तब भी सेक्युलर थे. तो इसको हटाना चाहिए या नहीं हटाना चाहिए? नहीं हटाना चाहिए. उसका रीजन तो समझाओ. हैंड टू हैंड से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. वो तो पहले भी सेक्युलर था ना. अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के प्रियम्बल से वर्ड हटा दोगे तो भी सेक्युलर है. तो हटाने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है? हाँ, बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर नहीं बदलेगा क्योंकि सेक्युलरिज्म, ये तो प्रियम्बल तो इन्फोर्सिएबल पार्ट ही नहीं है. फंडामेंटल फ्रीडम्स तो है ना. क्या बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर नहीं बदलेगा उससे? क्या? यू एग्री विद हिम कि हमारा इंप्रेशन खराब होगा इसलिए रखते हैं. You agree with him? So let it be there. If it is there, is it harming anybody? वैसे भी तो वो नॉन इन्फोर्सिएबल पार्टी है. अगर हटा भी देते हैं तो भी सेक्युलर है. लगा भी देते तो भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अब फर्क पड़ता ही नहीं है तो रहने ही देते हैं. ठीक है, क्योंकि if we remove it, it can give a wrong message. ठीक है, जैसे when we added it, maybe whatever was the intention of the government at that time, but at least it ended the ambiguity. It made our commitment towards secularism very explicit. ठीक है? And now if we remove it, though it will not make any effect, but it will give a wrong impression in the minorities. So there is, if you go for cost and benefit analysis, there is no benefit removing it. So sometimes it becomes a blessing in disguise also. Have you understood this? Though the government by mistake printed the copy of the preamble without these two words, and the law ministry said it doesn't make any difference, the original constitution doesn't contain this, but still it makes a difference. Have you understood this? So unnecessarily we already have so many controversies, why to have one more controversy? Have you understood this? So now it is written the sui generis model. What is sui generis? Matlab unique, which emerged in India's own circumstances. So how our model is different from the Western मॉडल. ठीक है, अपना मॉडल और वेस्टर्न मॉडल में क्या डिफरेंस है? अपना मॉडल स्यू जेनरिस कैसे है? स्टेट इंटरफियर्स इन द रिलीजन, स्पेशल राइट्स टू माइनॉरिटीज, ठीक है, नो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड. इज दिस क्लियर? तो सबसे पहले तो यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज सेक्युलर स्टेट. ठीक है, लिखो what is secular state. तो क्वेश्चंस में तुम्हारा जजमेंट चेक करते हैं. ठीक है, तुम पॉलिटिकली कितने इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हो, करेक्टली सोचते हो, कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस, इसीलिए जजमेंट वाले क्वेश्चंस रहते हैं. एंड सिंपल क्वेश्चंस बट दे पुट इट इन सच लैंग्वेज, they start appearing difficult. So that is your comprehension skill. Yeah.
If government changes something in framework, then Supreme Court can fix it again.
Yeah, if Supreme Court thinks it is not permissible.
Like in this one on the case, Supreme Court has interpreted something on the basis of framework, and if government let us change framework, edit कर देते हैं उसको, फिर बोलते हैं तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट उसको सही कर सकता है.
क्यों नहीं कर सकता है? सुप्रीम कोर्ट कुछ भी कर सकता है, बट डिपेंड करता है कि सीजेआई कौन है. ठीक है, अगर सीजेआई सरकार वाला नहीं है तो अलग होगा. तो अपना कोर्ट भी तो ऐसी है. ठीक है, तो प्रताप भानु मेहता व्हाट ही सेज, इंडियन कोर्ट, कोर्ट जो है doesn't follow any principle. Its decisions are very much influenced by the political environment in the country. ठीक है, तो इंडिया में सभी गड़बड़ी है. Now anyway, secular state. So no need to talk about secular society. Society may be religious and all, but state has to be secular. So what is a secular state? The first thing is, there is no single model or single definition of a secular state. So each country, जैसे फेडरलिज्म के अपने मॉडल्स हैं, वैसे ही सेक्युलरिज्म के अपने मॉडल्स हैं. एंडलेस मॉडल्स ऑफ सेक्युलरिज्म आर देयर. ठीक है, तो सेक्युलर स्टेट, व्हाट इज, विच स्टेट इज अ सेक्युलर स्टेट? Which state is a secular state? ठीक है, तो पहला पॉइंट नंबर 1 तो है, राइट, there is no single model of secularism which is accepted by all. ठीक है, अब सेकेंड थिंग क्या है? इट इज अ हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्सेप्ट. हिस्टोरिकल है, evolved in the West. अब वेस्ट में कैसे इवॉल्व हुआ? सेपरेशन ऑफ चर्च एंड स्टेट, राइट. इन वेस्ट it evolved in the form of separation between church and state. ठीक है, तो right, it evolved in the modern times. तो medieval times में religion या church was interfering in the state, तो वो separation of church and state. अब right, some of the characteristics, some of the general characteristics of secular state are: first क्या है? Right, separation between state and church. Next, principle of religious neutrality. Religious neutrality का मतलब क्या होता है? लिखो. Right, religion of a person does not matter for the state. Next, equidistance. और एक तो equidistance model, और what is this particular model? Equal treatment of all religions. Next, principle of toleration. ये सब जनरल है, ठीक है. अब इंडियन, व्हाट आर, लिखो, व्हाट आर द फीचर्स ऑफ इंडियन मॉडल? Right, it is a combination of both Western and some indigenous features. Indigenous, INDEGENOUS, indigenous features, कुछ हमारे अपने features हैं. That is why called as sui generis model. Sui generis model. ठीक है, तो what are western features? देखो, what western features? What are the western features? ये जितने features हैं सब अपने यहाँ हैं. Equal treatment of all religion है ना? कहाँ पे, किस आर्टिकल में? 27. State will not take any tax which is meant for promotion of any specific. Equal treatment भी है, state का कोई religion नहीं है, neutrality है. We have all the above features. ये तो है ही है ना, right? All the above features. But some unique features. ठीक है, अब why uniqueness is there, right? Why uniqueness? First factor है nature of Indian society. इंडियन सोसाइटी का नेचर क्या है? ट्रेडिशनल. वेस्टर्न का क्या है? मॉडर्न. मॉडर्न होता है तो रैशनल होता है, ट्रेडिशनल होता है, रिलीजन हैज़ एन इम्पॉर्टेंट प्लेस. तो इंडियन सोसाइटी इज ट्रेडिशनल वेयर religion continues to be the part of life or a way of life. ठीक है, राइट. इसी में लिखो, hence Gandhi believed that there cannot be complete separation hence secularism has to be based on the spirit of. गांधी का क्या आइडिया है सेक्युलरिज्म का? कौन सी स्पिरिट? स्पिरिट ऑफ कम्युनल हार्मनी. स्पिरिट ऑफ कम्युनल हार्मनी. सेकेंड थिंग, what type of secular state India will be comma, right? This debate emerged in context of Jinnah's demand for Pakistan. Right? Pakistan as a separate state for the minorities. देखो, Muslims of the subcontinent. ठीक है, राइट. हेंस Indian leaders had to assure minorities that they will have freedom to practice, profess, propagate religion, as well as special cultural and educational rights right. Even uniform civil code was made just a directive. Uniform civil code was made just a directive, and communities were allowed to observe their own personal laws. ठीक है, अब इसमें लिखो, अंबेडकर was an advocate of rights to minorities. Was an advocate of right to minorities. Next, right, there is no strict separation as Indian state can interfere in the customs and traditions of Hindus for the purpose of social reforms. ठीक है, तो ये sui generis मॉडल है, तो ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे लिखो राइट, इंडियन मॉडल इज कॉल्ड एज प्रिंसिपल्ड डिस्टेंस. क्योंकि अनटचेबिलिटी ये सब हटानी थी. वैसे सभी रिलीजन के सेक्युलर उस स्फीयर में है ही, लेकिन आर्टिकल 25 क्लॉज 2 में हिंदूज के लिए स्पेशली लिखा हुआ है, और हिंदूज में 6 भी आते हैं, ठीक है, लेकिन अदर उसमें भी इट कैन इंटरफियर. क्या principal distance model, Indian model is called principled distance rather than equidistance. Principled distance rather than equidistance. What is principled distance? जब तक जरूरत नहीं. State interferes in all religions, but in accordance to the need. ठीक है, जब जरूरत पड़ती है, not necessarily in equidistance. It is not equidistance concept. Is this clear? तो religion और state boundaries porous हैं, और state goes for principled distance. It is not one size fit for all concept. According to the requirements, there is a intervention of state. तो principled distance, पहली बात लिखो, point number 1, बस लिखो, the boundaries between religion and state are porous. Porous boundaries हैं. Next, there is no one size fit for all. Rather, state goes for intervention in different religions in accordance to the requirements. अब इसमें लिखो आर्टिकल 25 क्लॉज 2 सब क्लॉज ए. ठीक है, अब इसमें आई एम जस्ट रीडिंग सो दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड फर्स्ट. नथिंग इन दिस आर्टिकल, आर्टिकल 25 क्या है? फ्रीडम ऑफ रिलीजन. नथिंग इन दिस आर्टिकल will impact or prevent state from making any law regulating, restricting any economic, financial, political or other secular activity which may be associated with any religious practice. तो जैसे ट्रिपल तलाक is a secular activity related to marriage with the religious practice. So if state feels, state will intervene. Is this clear? और second क्या है? हिंदूज के लिए specifically लिखा हुआ है, providing for welfare and reform and throwing open of Hindu religious institutions of public character of all classes and sections of the Hindus. ठीक है, तो ये खुद ही एक्सप्लेन करता है प्रिंसिपल्ड distance concept, article 25A and 25B. ठीक है, तो आज एक तुम लोग काम करोगे, एक तो ये लेके 25A 25B लिखना है और एक अम्बेडकर की स्पीच पढ़नी है और उसके नोट्स इसी कॉपी में बना के कल मुझे मेन पॉइंट्स बताने हैं. ग्रामर ऑफ एनार्की स्पीच, अंबेडकर की स्पीच है, उसका टाइटल है ग्रामर ऑफ एनार्की. ग्रामर ऑफ एनार्की, उसमें किस पे ध्यान देना है? जैसे ग्रामर ऑफ एनार्की स्पीच पढ़नी है, उसमें ध्यान देना है कि व्हाट ही टेल्स अबाउट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म, मोरालिटी, सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक डेमोक्रेसी. ठीक है, सक्सेस, व्हेन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बिकम सक्सेसफुल, और सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक डेमोक्रेसी में रिलेशन क्या होता है, या कैन देयर बी अ पॉलिटिकल डेमोक्रेसी विदाउट सोशल एंड इकोनॉमिक. ठीक है, तो ये दोनों आर्टिकल लिखने हैं और उस स्पीच से इम्पॉर्टेंट कोट और आइडिया टुमारो वी विल डिस्कस दैट. टुमारो पॉलिटी क्लास.